Motion Studio is a free streaming app that lets you live stream in 3D and engage with your audience like never before. You can create, build, and share 3D environments, interactive mini games, and social experiences all from the single app. And it also works with existing streaming tools that you may be familiar with, such as OBS, Streamlabs OBS, Stream Decks, Vtubing software, and much more. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you a full tour on what Motion is and what it can do for your content. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to leave it with a like, and to stay connected to the community, join the Discord in the links down in the description below. Let's get started. Now, in order to download Motion Studio, we're gonna first need to navigate ourselves to Steam. And in the store, we're just gonna want to type in Motion here, and from there, you can see it's absolutely free. And once we find ourselves on the Motion page, simply scroll down and we will be able to install Motion absolutely free. And once installed from there, you'll be able to find Motion in your Steam library. Or better yet, once it's installed, you can also go down to your Windows search bar. You can type in Motion, and from there you can open it that way as well. That's personally how I like to do it. Now let's go ahead and open Motion. And when you first load into Motion, you're going to be prompted to log into your Twitch. So let's go ahead and do that. And now here we are in Motion's dashboard itself. Now you can use Motion in offline mode, but there are going to be certain features that will be restricted. From here, we now have a roster of different clubhouses that we are able to choose. Let's go ahead and load into one of these. And here we are loaded into a map of our selection. Now, before we go on, it is important to note that when you are streaming, it's really good to have Motion minimized. It'll still work perfectly fine, but it will consume less resources. Now, when we minimize this, you will notice that Motion is going to be down at the bottom right-hand side in your taskbar. And then all I need to do is I can either click this, and it'll open, or after minimizing it, you can also hit Control M, and it will open Motion from your system tray. But again, I highly recommend minimizing this when you stream. But now that we're finally in Motion, let's make sense of a few things that are going on here. And let's first focus on the top left-hand side on the home button. On the home dashboard section here, you'll see simple things such as saving, undoing, redoing, deleting certain things. But then as we get a little bit lower here, you'll notice you can focus, switch views, snap to camera, or image snapshot as well. Focus here simply just allows you to select an object. You can hit F and you'll immediately be able to teleport by an object, which will just kind of make moving around a little bit more convenient. Switch view, which you can also activate by hitting tab, will allow you to swap the view from an editor to the interaction window, which I will go over later. Going back to the editor view here, or by hitting tab, you can select the home section once again. We also have snap to camera. Snap to camera is just going to take the angle and perspective that you're looking at and place a camera there for you. A good example of that would be selecting a camera that we may have laid down, hitting the Control Shift F, and then from there you'll notice I actually laid a camera down to look at where I was looking. But not to overwhelm you too much, this will all make sense in a bit. Now we also have image snapshot, which is just simply taking a screenshot of where you are looking at. And the quality levels here are just going to simply allow you to change the overall quality. So if I use the hotkeys here with Shift Control 1 through 6, you'll notice that as I change these, you may notice that the detail in the terrain and the atmosphere around me is also changing. So in case you might be running into performance issues, depending on what you're running and everything that you're doing, you can also adjust the quality of your clubhouse this way. Beside the home button, we have this editor tab, and in the editor mode, you're able to move around and explore your clubhouse freely to make whatever changes that you see necessary. Moving around is very simple to playing really any PC game. You use WASD to move forwards, backwards, left and right. You can use Q and E to go up and down. You can also hold Shift to move faster around a clubhouse. Accompanied with your mouse wheel, you can also scroll your mouse wheel forwards and backwards to also go faster if you'd like. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, if you select an object, and once that object is highlighted, you can also hit F to teleport to that object and navigate around the clubhouse. So clicking this here, hitting F. One object up here, hitting F. And then from there, you'll notice that I'm just moving around just a little bit faster in the clubhouse, just in case that's something you want to do. And again, if we look at the top tabs, we also have the interactions tab. So let's go ahead and select this. Now, When in the interactions view, you can set up various triggers and actions inside your clubhouse. And this will unlock a new level of engagement that you can bring to your audience. And for example, you can set up a simple interactive experience for your chat to turn on or off a light inside your clubhouse, change the camera view, and much more. Even as sophisticated as designing and setting up your own mini games inside your clubhouse and letting the chat play it together with you when you are live under your own rules. Honestly, it's super sick. But for now, just know what this is, know where it's located in Motion, and I will go over this in more depth later in the video. And then once again, at the top left, looking below our home button, we have these 3 cubes here, and this is called our scene hierarchy. Now from here, these are categories of different elements that are currently placed in our clubhouse, from cameras, displays, objects, and the lights that we have. You can edit these, add new ones, delete existing ones to however you see fit. So from here, we'll be able to select a certain category, select a certain thing that might be in our clubhouse, maybe even go over to it, and then from there be able to edit this to however we see fit, or even remove it if we would like to. I'm going to undo that, so let's put that back. But make sure that as you go through this hierarchy, the things that you want to have edited, make sure that you click and select them, and then from there you'll be able to edit them. And then below our scene hierarchy, we then have the trigger panel overview. The trigger panel has 2 states, and it changes depending on what view you're in, whether it be the editor or interaction view. When in the editor panel, you'll see this labeled as the trigger overview, and in the interactions panel, you'll then notice that you actually have access to the certain triggers. In here is where you can set up and see all the trigger actions that you have available in your clubhouse. And again, I will cover this later in the video. For now, let's go back to the editor tab and minimize our trigger panel here. And right at the top middle, we have what's called our hang toolbar. And then here you'll have 4 elements that you can select, from placing down a new camera, uploading 3D objects, placing down new light sources, or putting down new display elements, such as pictures, images, your camera, etc. And then on our right-hand side here, below our profile picture, you have the inspector panel. Now this is empty, but it will fill up with information if we select a source or an object that is in our clubhouse. In the inspector panel, you'll notice that there are a variety of different things, such as changing an item's position, rotation. You can even add different filters and features onto certain elements as well. And this panel on the right-hand side is what's going to offer you all of that information. And then up at the top right-hand side, we have the status indicator. This just simply indicates when you are live and broadcasting. When you see it go red, you know you're live. And beside that, on your profile picture, when selecting that, this is where we are able to select our preferences. In your preferences, this is also going to be where you can install the Stream Deck integration, so you can use your Stream Deck with Motion. And you can also log out of your account from here if need be. At the bottom left here, you're going to notice that there is a pop-up preview window, and this is going to display the live feed of a camera's perspective. This is also going to be the perspective that you're going to be showing in your streaming software, such as OBS, Streamlabs OBS, whatever you use. To the bottom right, you'll also see the camera preview tray, and these all provide different thumbnails of what the camera is currently looking at. And it does actually update as well. You'll notice that there are little slideshows going on. If you were to change the perspective or put an object in front of it, this is an actual live view of what the cameras are currently looking at. Minimizing this and then going again one more to the right, we have our timelines tray, and then clicking on this button is going to open the timelines. And on the timeline tray, this is where you're able to create automated camera tracks or even light tracks, which I'm going to show you again later in the video. But essentially, you can create different camera tracks to loop around a certain area, or you can create different timelines for lighting, so you can change the colors of lighting to give it a full RGB type feature. Minimizing this, and then one more to the bottom right, we have the Help tab. From here, you'll have access to resourceful information such as our Twitter page, joining our community Discord, or checking out more information, updates, and guides on our YouTube channel. You can even submit feedback and suggestions to things you may see and have and ideas that you want to share, and then also checking out more information and resources to guides on different features and things that you can do in Motion. And that is pretty much the rundown on where everything is located and the little bits and features that you can find around Motion. Now, looking back at our hang toolbar here, you're going to notice again our 4 different elements: camera, 3D objects, lights, and display elements. When adding any of these elements on our left-hand side, these get added into our scene hierarchy categories. When adding any sort of element here, you're going to notice that there is a gizmo around these objects and cameras that you also place down. This is going to allow you to change the direction that something is facing, rotating it completely vertically, horizontally, diagonally, to allow you to just set anything in a position that you see fit. You can also move it horizontally, vertically, etc. And certain elements that you also place down will also allow you to adjust the overall size of something. And then when selecting a different element, you're going to notice on the right-hand side in the inspector panel, you have a wide variety of different features and details that you can also adjust. Starting with the camera element here, on the information panel, you'll notice that I can do things like adjusting its rotational axis up, down, horizontally, like I just mentioned. From there, you can also change the transition type of how it swaps to the camera, things like hard cuts, fun bounces, while also being able to adjust how long the scene transition takes. So you can change it to be fast, slow, smooth, and below that, you can also adjust sway. Sway is almost like having an automatic handheld type of shake, while also being able to adjust the intensity of it. And you'll also notice in front of us, the camera is also starting to move. In the camera perspective, if we're able to open this window here, you're going to notice that the camera itself is shaking. And below that in the post effects tabs, this will just allow you to add different types of visual effects to the display, such as adjusting the contrast, changing the saturation, adding film grain to it if you want to. And the last tab, the actions tabs, which then we can set up in our interactions page, which again, I will go over later. Now, beside the camera, we have the 3D object tab, but I'm going to go over that one last here. Next, let's just talk about the lights quickly. So if we select a light source, you'll notice that it adds a light source. Now, outside in the brightness, this kind of doesn't do this much justice. So let's go over to this tree here. And once again, let's add a light source. And you'll notice that, wow, light adds light. In our information tab on the right-hand side here, once again, we can change a variety of things like rotating it, but we can also change the light type from a AOE type of light or even to a spotlight, which you'll notice that now in this case, you'll notice that there is a light source on the ground. From here, we can also adjust the overall color of the light if we so choose to, like changing it to really whatever color you'd like. And right below that, you will find the gizmo visibility. Simply by toggling this, you are able to change the visibility of the light. And then below that is the actions tab, which you can do things such as toggling the visibility and fun animations like changing through colors. Let's minimize this and then go back to our hang toolbar. Now on the far right hand side, let's go ahead and add a display element. I'm going to keep this really simple. Once again, you can adjust the overall rotational axis, but below that in the input object, you can change this to a variety of different things, such as capturing your desktop, linking your camera to it. You can play a video, add an image. You can even put in a website, and that website can use a playable link to play videos. So you can even put in a YouTube playlist link and it will play through that whole playlist. Selecting an image source here below the input object, and we can also adjust the crop of an image. We can adjust the horizontal or vertical crop. What's cool is you can also select the center and you can drag the bar entirely to kind of readjust things however you see fit. So if you want to center something a little bit more, below that you can mirror an image or source however you see fit. Diegesis, turning this on, simply adds an ambient light to the source. So whatever type of ambience you may have in the 3D room that you are in, turning on diegesis onto a source is going to add the ambience of the room and its lighting reflect onto that source you have selected. Below the settings, depending on what input object you've selected, you will also have additional features and options to select from there. So images, you can change what you load. Videos, again, change what you load. If you have a connected camera, for example, you can change what camera you have. You can also enable chroma keying features if you have a green screen that you want to remove. And below that, again, is the actions tab. Now, minimizing this, let's talk about the last thing here I did mention was the 3D objects. Now, going ahead and selecting this, it brings us into a new menu with a library and a plethora of different assets that you can use and place and decorate in your clubhouse. You can also import your own 3D assets or things that you may download and want to add to your own room as well. What's nice at the top left-hand side is you can search objects if you want. Let's go ahead and type in plant. And then from there, I have a variety of different plants to be able to choose from. Let's go ahead and type in mic. From there, I've got an even variety of different microphones that I can use. And what's nice with the tags here, everything is highlighted at the moment. If I select all and deselect everything, I can even go into the clubhouses that I may be in. I'm currently in Dragon's Roost. Selecting this will show all of the assets that currently exist in that clubhouse, and I can categorize and use those using the tag feature. From there, I can go ahead and select an object, and then simply at the bottom left, just hit add, and then there we are. There is our 3D object loaded into our space. And again, on the information tab that you see on the right-hand side, there's a few things that we can do, such as just adjusting the overall size and axis of something. And then once again, having actions to be able to do certain things and certain features with our community. And that's just a basic run through on some of the elements in the Hang toolbar. But if you want to learn some more advanced tips and tricks on Motion's cameras, then do make sure to check out this video here, which I go over Motion's cameras in more extensive detail. You'll find a lot of valuable information that'll help you out there. And if you want to learn how to do more advanced chroma keying features in Motion, then also check out this video here, where I go over and give some more tips and tricks on how you can do that as well. Super helpful video if you want to learn how to do that. Okay, next up, let's talk about timelines. Bottom right-hand side, let's select our timeline button to open the timeline tab. Let's go ahead and add a new timeline. So hitting the plus arrow, we get an empty tab here. Selecting edit, and here is the timeline track. Now, it's automatically going to put a camera track in by default. You can simply remove that if you don't want that. And from there, you can add a camera or a light track. I'm going to do this one by one. So let's go ahead and add the camera track first. And to simply put this track here is going to be our loop. And around the top left here, you can also select how long this loop goes on for. So the duration, you can change it to 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120, 180, 2, 3, 5 minutes, whatever you see fit. For this demonstration, I'm just going to leave it as 5 seconds. Now let's go ahead and add a camera. Keynote, you're going to want your first and last camera to be the same so that it completes its full circle. So let's go ahead and take this first camera. I'm actually going to drag it to the end. I'm going to leave it as camera 1. From there, we'll add another keyframe. I'm going to drag it into the track, and I'm going to change this camera to camera 2. I'm going to add another camera keyframe here. I'm going to change this to camera 3. And then on this camera that I add, I'm going to leave this as camera 1. From there, I can space these out to really however I see fit. I think that's good right there. At the top left-hand side, I can change the name to really whatever I'd like. I'm going to name it camera track. And to the right of it, you can also select a hotkey press to also activate the loop. So let's go ahead and back out. I'm going to minimize this information tab here. Bottom left-hand side, I'm going to open up the camera preview window. I'm going to place it right down here. Now, if I go ahead and hit play on this track in our window here, you're going to notice now the camera is moving around and doing a full complete circle, but it's stopped. That's because we haven't selected the loop feature. So if we select the loop and then hit play, from there, we will continuously do a full circle. And then if we do our hotkey, which in this instance, it was right control F3, I can also start the camera track using the hotkey that I set up. And let's go ahead and add a new track. So new timeline, let's go ahead and edit this. Let's go ahead and delete the camera track. We are now going to add a light track. Now this is a little bit different from here. You'll be able to select a certain light source. Let's go ahead and let's add a new light source just in front of us. This light is light 7. I'm just going to change to the light. And let's go ahead and change the source to the light that we now have. And here we are. We have our light source selected. Let's go ahead and minimize this info panel. And then from here, we're able to select our keyframes. So let's go ahead and add a keyframe. Now the light source keyframes are going to allow us to change the color of the light source. I'm going to keep this really simple for now. I'm going to simply keep this as a white light. I'm going to drag this to the end. Let's add a new keyframe. I'm going to put this right in the middle. I'm going to make it black. So essentially it turns off. Let's add a new keyframe. And then once again, I will have that as white. Overall duration, I'm going to have it to 2 seconds, let's say. And I will change this to light timeline. Let's go ahead and go back here. Let's set this to loop and hit play. Now you'll notice that our light is now turning on and turning off. If I were to take this light source and move this, and let's move this back to the green spotlight I placed down earlier, well, you'll notice that this animation is creating a light source and removing it just like we set up. And then from there, if I go into the info tab and then again select that gizmo visibility, I can make the source invisible and now just giving off an animation of light without even seeing the sphere that we've placed down. Honestly, really cool stuff. And next up, one of my favorites, let's set up the interactions. One of the best things about Motion Studios is that you can set up interactions as complex as you'd like and design your own mini games for your community to play together while you are live on stream. You don't have to learn codes to use scripts. Simply drag and drop different trigger actions onto this node graph. It's quick and easy, and the limit is to your own creativity. This is something totally new that has never been done before, so you are guaranteed to impress and make your viewers feel super special. To begin, simply click on the interactions button at first, and at the top of the app, go to the interactions view. You can also use the tab hotkey to alternate between the two views of editing and interactions. Once you're in the interaction perspective, you're going to be able to further create and edit various experiences that you want your chat to interact with. There are two main terms in here: triggers and actions. Triggers are used to initiate the action in your clubhouse. They're essentially steps that you or your chat need to perform to set off the action. And actions are events that occur in your clubhouse when a trigger linked to the action is activated by either you or the chat. There will be an in-depth tutorial on how to set up interactions, hook up your Twitch chat, and set up bits for potential revenue income in a different video. So make sure to check it out if you need more help on how to set up various viewer interactions. And next up, let's talk about setting up motion with your Stream Deck. The Stream Deck is a fantastic tool that allows you to have more convenience at the push of a button and much more control for your stream. And it offers the same type of convenience inside Motion, where you can use it to swap between your cameras, different types of trigger actions, and more. If you want to learn how to set up the Stream Deck with Motion, it's super easy to do, and I've set up a very quick and in-depth guide and video on how to do it. So make sure to check out this video here, and again, links for these videos will be in the description down below. You've seen where everything is in Motion, you know what you can do in Motion, but you just want to show everybody Motion. So here is exactly how you add Motion to your streaming software. And it's super, super easy, so don't blink. Simply open your broadcasting software, right-click on your scene. You're going to add a video capture device like you would for your camera. And from there, Motion Studios camera should be in your device list. From there, you can hit OK, and boom, there is our camera perspective inside of Motion. And from here, even if I activate the camera track loop, you will notice that our camera perspective is shown in the loop that we have set up. And now that we've got Motion added to our streaming software, maybe you want to add your camera into Motion. And let me show you how to do that quickly. On our hang toolbar here, we're going to add the display element. And on our info tab on the right-hand side in the input object, we're able to select things like our connected camera. And down in the camera tab, you'll be able to select your camera's device and be able to add it from there. But going up to the input object, you're also able to select your VTube feed. In the case you're a VTuber and you use a VTubing avatar, let's go back up to the input object tab and you'll be able to change this to the VTube feed. But before your avatar can properly load into the Motion Clubhouse, make sure that the VTubing software that you're using for your avatar is set up correctly so that Motion can pick up its feed. To do this in VTubing Studio, you can go to the camera settings and then enable the virtual camera feature. Once the proper drivers are installed, the virtual camera is enabled, Motion Studio will be able to pick up the source and load your avatar into the feed. From there, that essentially wraps up our tour of Motion. So I do hope that this video was helpful and informative. If it was, then please be sure to leave it with a like and do subscribe if you want to check out more content from us for any guides and updates. Make sure to join our community Discord in the description down below, as well as checking out any other information on the guides that I did recommend. Welcome to Motion, and get excited about the possibility of things that you can do and show your audience. Get ready to take your content to the next level.